everyone, and welcome to the July 19th meeting of the City of Newport News Planning Commission. Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Maxwell.
Here.
Commissioner Dias.
Present.
Commissioner Shook.
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
Commissioner Bowditch.
Present.
Commissioner Stodgel.
Present.
Mr. Grabowski is not here, so Commissioner Fox,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. I wonder, Commissioner Shook, if you would read the Planning Commission purpose for us?
The Newport News Planning Commission is mandated by state law and its members are appointed by City Council. Section 15.2, TAC 2210 of the Code of Virginia states, in part, that every locality shall create a planning commission in order to promote the orderly development of the locality and its environment. The statutory purpose is to improve the public health, safety, convenience, and welfare of the citizens, and to plan the future development of the communities. In serving this statutory purpose, the Commission invites the comments at the public hearing of its interested citizens of matters before it and welcomes your presence. Madam Chairwoman, I move that we adopt the agenda before us.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And now, I'd like to ask Commissioner Maxwell, Reverend Maxwell, if he would do our invocation.
Yes, ma'am. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you so much for this day, and we ask for you to continue to guide us, guide our chair, guide our vice chair, guide all of us to make the decisions that's best for your citizens, those who are here, those who will come, and those who are not even born yet. We thank you, Lord, for trusting us with this, and we just ask for you to continue to guide us. In your name we pray. Amen.
And Commissioner Shook, would you lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioners. I hope everyone took the time to review the minutes of our last meeting in our work session. And if there are no changes or corrections or deletions to those minutes, then the minutes will stand as presented. Moving into our public hearing items. Our first public hearing is a change of zoning, and Carolyn Poisson is here to present that. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm here to present application CZ 2023-0002, which is a request for a change of zoning from C1 retail commercial to R5 low-density multiple family dwelling. The property is located at 15459 Warwick Boulevard and contains 7.95 acres. Yes?
You're doing 0001.
Oh, correct. Sorry. My fault. Okay. Yes, 0001. Thank you. To the north is Hickory Point Apartments on property zoned R7 medium density multiple family dwelling, and Cho's Cleaners and Soaps and Suds on property zoned C1 retail commercial. To the south is a vacant parcel zoned C1 retail commercial, also owned by the applicant. To the east is a vacant parcel owned by the Green Foundation and Collard's Mobile Home Park on property zone C1 retail commercial. And to the west is the River Muse Apartments complex on property zoned R7 medium density multiple family dwelling. The One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use designation for the property is urban residential. The property has been zoned C1 retail commercial since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective August 1st, 1997. And the zoning ordinance permits a property owner to offer proffers at the time of application for a change of zoning. If accepted by the city council, these proffers will govern the development and use of the property. 4 proffers have been provided in this case. The city's subdivision regulations and zoning ordinance provisions require a minimum lot area of 5,000 square feet for single-family lots, in addition to specific lot and dimensional and setbacks. The proposed subdivision layout meets these requirements. The subdivision regulations also stipulate that lot arrangement, design, and shape shall be appropriate for the siting of buildings. Each lot shall have frontage on a public street and not have direct access to a thoroughfare. The proposed subdivision layout meets these requirements. The engineering department also has indicated that the public street right-of-way shall have a minimum of 50-foot width with sidewalks on both sides, and noise abatement shall be provided if necessary at the building permit stage. Newport News Public Schools indicated there is adequate capacity for the anticipated number of new students, and there were no objections from other reviewing departments. The property is part of a 57-acre development that includes the Rivermuse apartments and townhomes. Originally, the parcel was envisioned for commercial development. However, the Denby-Warwick area plan called for urban residential designation, which allows for small single-family or townhome units. The new single-family subdivision will complement adjacent residential neighborhoods and promote homeownership. There are numerous commercial establishments in the vicinity, as well as access to parks and transit. A tall evergreen landscape buffer and privacy fence will be installed along Warwick Boulevard, and a landscape buffer and white three-rail fence will be preserved along Woodhaven, maintaining the symmetry of the entry to the development. The building elevations illustrate a variety of high-quality one- and two-story three-bedroom homes with attached garages that are compatible with the architectural style of the nearby homes. The applicant has voluntarily provided 4 proffers. The proffers state that the property will be used for single-family residential development, and they also guarantee conformity with the conceptual site plan, the landscape plan, and the building elevations, subject to the review and approval of the planning director. In conclusion, the proposed change of zoning is consistent with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use designation and provides an appropriate residential density that is compatible with the surrounding uses. The lots along Warwick Boulevard will be buffered with landscaping and privacy fencing to mitigate the noise impacts. It is recommended that the City Planning Commission recommend to City Council approval of change of zoning CZ 2023-0001 for the property located in 15459 Warwick Boulevard from C1 Retail Commercial to R5 Low Density Multiple Family Dwelling with proffers. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone have questions for Carolyn?
I have a question. So you said in the Lee Hall, or the Lee Hall, or Denby.
Denby Warwick,
Denby,
yeah.
the Denby, that it was designated urban residential? Mm-hmm. And now it's low, and we're going to low density?
No,
What's
the
difference?
zoning is allowed in the urban residential land use designation. It's a type
So
of zoning
what,
that's
yeah,
allowed.
so what, can you just tell me what size houses, I mean, what is urban residential called for?
It's 7 to 11 units per acre, and so this falls within
Yeah.
that density.
Okay, and then the other question I have is the three-rail fence that's along Warwick, you know, that's sort of, you're saying that it's existing, I mean, not existing, I'm sorry, you're saying that it remains?
Right.
And then there's gonna be a 6-foot-high privacy
Yeah, the
fence?
6-foot-high fence will be along Warwick, so more of a noise buffer. And then that three-rail fence that's along Warwick might not stay because of the room there to put the buffer of landscaping and the new fence.
So that might go away?
That might go away, but
So is the buffer in front of the fence or behind the fence?
it's
The
right about where the
evergreen.
fence is now, so it's
So-
right on that
So in the
edge.
end, will we see the evergreen buffer or will we see a fence?
You'll-
I mean, I think you'll see both, but which one's in front?
Right, I
Which one's in
believe the
front?
fence is on the outside, but the applicant can confirm
Okay.
that, and then the trees.
All right, well, then I'll wait for
Yeah.
Lindsay to ask questions.
And then the white three-rail fence will be on both sides of Woodhaven.
Gotcha.
going in.
Actually, if you look at the site plan, and I know it's hard to see, but you'll note that the fence is at the backyard, and then the evergreen hedge is in front of it along Wharf Boulevard.
All right, it's just not called out.
Yeah, it's just hard to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's-
is that way. Thank you.
I have a question, Carolyn.
It's right here.
I noticed, I'm seeing where the property is heavily wooded and we're going to lose the trees. Are any of the existing trees going to be kept for the buffer areas?
There are some existing trees along Woodhaven that they're showing is being preserved, and I did bring that up with the applicant, and they did mention they would try to as much as possible. It just depends on the grading, because it's a very flat site, and so there's a need for drainage at the rear lot line. But if they can incorporate some green infrastructure and things where they wouldn't have to necessarily flatten and dip every lot, they might be able to, but they couldn't really guarantee that at this time.
Carolyn? I'm looking at the site plan. That looks like they're planning on using the existing entrance to Warwick.
Interest of River Muse?
Right, back onto River Muse and then back onto Warwick.
No,
Woodhaven.
no, Woodhaven. The loop is totally on Woodhaven. Warwick is off to the east. Warwick Boulevard is the very east side of the development.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. I did have mine turned the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole road along the edge, bottom edge of the development is all Woodhaven Road.
Okay, thank you very much, Carolyn. I have a card from Ms. Lindsay Carney for the applicant. Would you please come forward and state your name and address?
Thank you, Melissa. Good afternoon. My name is Lindsay Carney. I'm with the law firm Carney Patterson Mead, 12350 Jefferson Avenue. I am counsel for the applicant. With me today is Clay Huff, who represents the applicant, as well as Adam Reimert, who's with AES, who helped engineer the site. Carolyn already referenced, but I'd like to just reiterate that the staff does recommend approval of the petition for change of zoning with proffered conditions. The land use designation for this property was changed from medium-density residential to urban residential, which allows for small, single-family lots to be developed in keeping with the Denby-Warwick area plan. The proposed single-family development is in accordance with that plan and the One City, One Future 2040 comprehensive plan. The applicant also owns the adjoining River Muse apartments and townhomes, so this will be the entrance to those apartments and townhomes. That's a $75 million investment, so we can assure you that this frontage that's going to serve as the beginning of that is going to be a quality design and quality landscaped area. The site is in close proximity to Fort Eustis and the Yorktown Naval Weapons Station, as well as many other large local employers. It's surrounded by neighborhood services and retailers, parks and recreational amenities, as well as immediate access to public transportation and shopping, and it will provide quality housing in an accessible and desirable area of the city, which will complement both the single-family residences around it as well as the apartments in the rear. Whenever I come before you, I like to show you how these projects are helping to satisfy the plan goals and objectives. Strategy ER10 of the Denby-Warwick Area Plan identifies opportunities for infill housing and neighborhoods in keeping with the existing character, working with property owners of undeveloped sites within existing neighborhoods to develop new infill housing. There are two goals in the One City, One Future comp plan that this will help to satisfy: expanding opportunities, providing a variety of housing types at varying densities throughout the city. The other goal is revitalization, supporting infill development and revitalization projects that are based on quality architectural designs that bring value and are comparable with surrounding and incorporate well-designed site elements that include landscaping and pedestrian access and circulation. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Taylor.
I guess, yes, I was correct when I was my initial question before. It was centered around this going back out to Woodhaven, the whole, like today, the flow into the neighborhood is through Woodhaven right now. And when I went up there, there's a lot of, today there's some 18-wheel trucks and some cabs parked up in there, so it gets kind of congested in that area. So we're taking, was there any thoughts to have another entrance to Warwick, other than going all the way around through the loop, through the development, all the way back to, what was the street name?
Woodhaven?
Yeah, but the flow itself is still coming back out. You're dumping back out on the Warwick at that same entrance between
So
your
the
property.
Denby Warwick area plan discourages having access directly on Warwick Boulevard for residential, and so that's why we are going to direct all the traffic down Woodhaven.
Back out to Woodhaven?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. So, this is getting out of the weeds. That's what we'll see from Warwick Boulevard. So explain to me, again. So it goes sidewalk, and there is no sidewalk. So it goes Warwick Boulevard, then what?
Okay, so let's start, take a look at your landscape plan that you have. It's agenda item number FA, and it's A7 in your packet. So along the right side of that page, that's Warwick Boulevard. You have 6 lots that run along Warwick Boulevard. Their backyards will
Right.
back up to it. That's where you're going to have the 6-foot privacy fence as well as a landscape buffer. That's meant to first screen
Right.
the houses from the roads from the houses, and also it's meant to be a noise dampener.
Right.
So then if you're coming up Warwick, you're going to take a right onto Woodhaven. You see right there that there is a 20-foot transitional buffer.
Right.
And the reason for that is across Woodhaven, our client also owns a small parcel that is zoned C1. That is not being rezoned today, and so we need to have that transitional buffer between the residential and the commercial.
Right.
So if you look up Woodhaven, all of that landscaping is in that 20-foot transitional buffer. That's where your 3-foot split rail is, because the picture that Carolyn showed you in the introduction is across the street, it's at that commercial piece.
Right.
So that split rail runs down Woodhaven.
So it won't be any longer on Warwick.
They're likely going to take it down because
Yeah.
you've got the 6-foot buffer.
Right. Okay, and what's the fence made out of, this privacy fence?
Likely wood, but we're still not at the point that we've designed the material for the fence.
Okay.
Other questions?
2 quick questions. For one, of the 36 lots, what kind of price points are we looking at?
So at this point, we haven't fully decided because the market is changing regularly, but we're looking about $300,000 would be the value of those homes.
Has there been any decision, I see some masonry, obviously facade, and either vinyl or hardy, is there any kind of selection?
So again, we haven't fully designed the material type because we're pricing everything out, but the idea will be vinyl or hardy plank with some stone around the fronts of each of the residences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Carney.
Thank you.
Okay. Matters before the commission.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve change of zoning CZ, TAC 2023, TAC 0001.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I just have one thing to say. And I understand this is a great thing, it is a great thing. It just gives me a little bit of heartburn that now we have residential bleeding in mixing with commercial. But, this sort of, commercial line that goes all the way down, we're now bleeding our residential into it. That's just my comment.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments? All right, Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Maxwell.
4.
Commissioner Dias. Commissioner Shook.
4.
Commissioner Williams.
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Commissioner Bowditch.
4.
Commissioner Stodgel.
4.
Commissioner Fox.
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
Okay, thank you. This will be heard by City Council on August the 8th, 2023. Okay, moving into our next public hearing matter, conditional use permits. We have CU 20, wait, I'm going to put these on. We have CU 2023-0006, Wave Properties, Inc., and this will be presented by Contact Planner Saul Gleiser. Welcome, Saul.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We have application CU 2023-0006 by Wave Properties LLC, who are the owners and applicants for this conditional use permit. They are requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the construction and operation of a car wash. The property is located at 12750 Warwick Boulevard and contains 1.22 acres. North of the property, we have the Alpine Shops on property zone C2 General Commercial. East, we have the Newport Commons Apartments on property zone R7 medium density, multiple family dwelling, and single-family homes on properties zone R4 single-family dwelling. South, we have vacant properties zone C2 general commercial, and finally west, we have auto zone, White Cells Automotive, and Schooner's Grill on property zone C2 general commercial. The One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map identifies neighborhood commercial uses for the parcel. The property has been zoned C2 general commercial since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective on August 1st, 1997. On January 10, 2006, City Council adopted a text amendment that requires a conditional use permit for all automotive uses, including car washes, in the C2 General Commercial Zoning District. Therefore, the current self-service car wash constructed in 2004 is legally non-conforming. A conditional use permit is required to construct a new express car wash on the property as proposed. The proposed use requires a minimum of 17 spaces and allows a maximum of 21 parking spaces. The conceptual site plan shows 20 parking spaces. A transitional buffer area is required when commercial zoning districts abut residential districts. A 20-foot wide landscape transitional buffer area is required when abutting multiple family residential districts, and a 30-foot transitional buffer area when abutting single-family residential districts, both of which occur on the eastern property line. The landscape plan shows these transitional buffer areas. The site regulations require a 10-foot wide landscape strip along Alpine Street and a 15-foot landscape strip along Warwick Boulevard. The landscape plan shows the 10-foot landscape strip facing Alpine Street and a 25-foot landscape strip fronting Warwick Boulevard. None of the city departments had objections to this request. The property, as I said before, was developed in 2004 as a self-serve car wash, which has been continuously used since its construction. Hence, it retains its legal nonconformity. The applicant proposes to remove both existing buildings as well as all site infrastructure to accommodate construction of a new building with site improvements that meet current city requirements. The new building will be situated on the property so that the main facade faces Warwick. The existing driveway entrance along Warwick Boulevard will be removed, allowing for a continuous sidewalk. there will be a maximum of 16 vacuum islands located at the rear of the property behind the structure, shielding them from direct view from the Warwick Boulevard frontage. The impact of the noise of the vacuums on the adjacent residential properties will be buffered by the required landscape transitional buffer areas. The vacuums will operate only while the car wash is open. The existing sign on the property will be removed and replaced by a 7-foot tall LED monument-style sign. Generally, automotive uses are not desirable at neighborhood entrances due to the typical concerns such as loitering, noise, and trash. However, given that the use has existed continuously on the property for almost 20 years and the proposed improvements redesign a layout that will minimize those impacts and improve the appearance and entrance to the neighborhood. In addition, having an express ride-through car wash rather than different self-service bays will lessen the noise and potential for loitering on the property. In conclusion, the proposed car wash is consistent with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use designation. The redevelopment of the site with the addition of landscaping and a well-designed structure to replace the existing structures will greatly improve the visual appearance of the property. Hence, it is recommended that the Commission recommend to City Council approval of conditional use permit CU 2023-0006 for the construction and operation of a car wash at 12570 Warwick Boulevard with 18 conditions that include: a Class 1 site plan shall be submitted to and reviewed by the Site Plan Review Committee and approved by the Director of Planning. A landscape plan, which is in conformance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance site regulations, as well as this permit shall be submitted and approved by the Director of Planning. The applicant shall submit building elevations and exterior building materials to be reviewed and approved by the Director of Planning prior to the issuance of a building permit. Existing freestanding signs will be removed and only one freestanding sign shall be permitted on the property. The sign shall be a monument-style sign and shall be no taller than 7 feet. All other standard conditions also apply. All 18 conditions are detailed in the staff report and will be part of the ordinance if approved by council. Are there any questions?
Yes. Was there any consideration or is there a need for any type of additional fencing as a noise buffer for the home that's butt up right against the property line? I see we have 20-foot and 30-foot transitional, but since the vacuums are in the back, seem closer to the home, is there a need to have some sort of additional buffer or fencing for potential noise for residents?
Well, it's not there right now, but the thing with placing a fence is that usually that fence has to be outside of the buffer area. So it would mean that what you would see is the fence instead of the vegetation.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's a really tall building right on Warwick Boulevard. I said, that's a really tall building right on Warwick Boulevard, and it's, you know, I know you said that decreases loitering, now it can decrease loitering, but, I mean, now we've created a wall with all this parking behind it.
Well, the building has some detail to it, and it is 25 feet from Warwick,
Right.
and it has vegetation between Warwick and the building.
Right.
So, and we tend to want to have those buildings fronting
Back.
the corridor instead of
See a
sitting way
parking
back
lot.
there
Right.
in front of it and having parking in front. So you have the 25-foot landscape strip,
Right.
plus you have a driveway between Warwick and the building. So I think that gives the building enough to scale it appropriately.
Yeah, and your comment about loitering, I mean, we've now created a wall where you can't see behind it, but,
Well, don't forget that this is now not a self-serve.
Right.
This is operated by somebody who's there. Whereas right now, you can go in 24/7 and use those self-service
Yes.
bays. So there is a difference between how the operation actually happens on the site.
are those the colors?
Those are the, yes.
How tall
Those
is
are
the
the
one
colors.
that's there now, isn't it? Pretty close to the same?
It's a concrete building.
It doesn't have a drive-through, so they don't have the doors.
They don't have that.
You know, they don't have the clearance for the
That
doors and all the
tower?
machinery on the top. It's just the wands. Yeah.
But they go up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Photo that they have.
They have that tower.
They got the tower, but it's just from the street level, it's pretty high. It seems to be.
Yeah, but
So
from
this is
Warwick,
similar, yeah.
right now you see mostly the openings to the car washes. So,
In the fence? Oh, do we get a clarification on whether there's a fence along the rear? There's not.
So on A6, it looks like there's a fence or some type of boundary behind this new tree line, which would be, to me, appears to be a new fence.
Doesn't look like a fence.
That might, maybe I'm reading this wrong.
There is a fence there, it looks like. Yeah. See?
It's not really.
Well, I don't know if that,
It's in the corner.
I
Yeah.
see, I mean, that's,
Strutting out.
Looks like a fence.
Is
It's-
the applicant's here, right?
okay. I just took the dotted lines and they were outlining the property. But if that's a fence, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
The applicant says they're gonna address it when they get up.
Okay.
Okay.
it's an existing fence.
There's an existing fence, but we will,
Who owns it?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll-
So there is an existing fence.
Yeah, it's in a three-dimensional drawing. It looks like.
A6, look at A6, you see something sitting back.
Yeah,
There's a fence line. There's a
there is
fence.
an existing fence that will remain.
Okay.
So you're saying with a single-family home, is that fence, is that maintained by the car wash people, or is that a fence?
It
that's
is owned by the car wash,
Okay,
yes.
and that'll stay,
Yeah, that's what it looks like
okay.
here.
Is that it, folks? Any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Saul. Our next speaker is Bobby Willis. Mr. Willis, would you step forward and state your name and address for the record?
Good afternoon. I'm Bobby Willis, 230 Nat Turner Boulevard, Newport News, Virginia. I'll address some of your questions that you have about it. I'm very detail-oriented when it comes to this project. I've worked closely with staff for this for several months on this. As I said, I'm Bobby Willis, long-term resident of City of Newport News. I've owned and operated Cool Wave Car Washes since its inception. I built this location I started the process back in 2003, and I've operated it as a self-service car wash since 2003. And I look at this location, like you look at your children. It's like, okay, when they're sick, you buy them things, you do things to take care of them, and now it's to the point, it's 20 years old, it's time to kick them out of the house, it's time to grow up. So what I'm doing here is moving into, the new thing in the car wash business is the express car wash model. So by doing this, what we're doing is, like staff said, we're taking the building off of, the neighbors back behind us, and we're putting it out on Warwick Boulevard. Going to your question about the vacuums, what we've done with these vacuums here, like currently right now we have 6 vacuums that are on the back side of the property that butt right up against the residential. But what we're proposing to do now is we'll have a driveway back there with 3 lanes, and then it goes into our vacuum section. What we've done with these vacuums is we've had a special vacuum design. You can see it at our Jefferson Avenue location, and we've actually taken decibel readings on these. They're actually quieter than a normal household vacuum. So right at the vacuum itself, it's at 70 decibels. So when you're 50 feet out, it's hardly noticeable. I mean, traffic noise driving up and down Alpine Street or Warwick Boulevard is actually louder than the vacuums. And fortunately, I have one of my real children above and beyond the car washes. He's the audio engineer. So, in the design of this stuff, he has actually taken decibel readings for us. We go out, different distances and take readings, and he's verified this for us. So when we had it manufactured, and we've tested it at our Jefferson Avenue location. So if you go to the Jefferson Avenue location and you're near the vacuums, you can see that standing back from them, because they have a muffler on them, each individual vacuum has a muffler on it that we take care of the noise issue there. Going into the buffering issue like you were talking about, there is an existing fence there, but what we're proposing, it's a vinyl fence that we own and maintain. We're proposing that we come in with probably a wooden fence behind that, so we'll replace the vinyl fence with a wooden fence, and it does encompass the property. So it does give us a buffer there. And then we will have the landscape buffer in place. We will save some of the existing mature trees, that's part of the deal, and we'll come back in, and clean some of that up, and then add new landscaping back there as well. And then the dumpster enclosure is near the back part of that property as well, so that will be enclosed. So it's hidden from the view for Warwick Boulevard. Talking about your question about the height of the building, it's right now, it's not much higher than the roof pitch line that's currently there on the self-service, on the automatic building that's there. It's basically, that tower is 28 feet. So we're looking at 20 feet on the main structure of the building and 28 feet on the tower. And it's just a design feature, that I work closely with staff on, just trying to give something, a nice fresh look for that corridor of Warwick Boulevard. Are there any questions for me?
No, thank you. Very thorough.
I appreciate the amount of detail. I think Katie's designed them and I've built them. And first looking at this packet, we have a plethora of car washes around the community, and especially in Newport News, and it's exciting to see you being a local resident investing in your property that already exists to be a car wash, but giving it the needed facelift that the industry is chasing.
Yeah,
So-
and that's what I'm looking to do. And that's actually the next project on the docket is my second location in Newport News. So.
Very good. Well,
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a question? So the windows down the side of Warwick Boulevard, those, you can actually see in and watch
No.
the car?
No, it's
those
a
aren't-
facade.
Oh, so those aren't windows?
No, it's
So you
just
can't
made
watch
to
the
look
cars
like
moving?
windows, but it's a
Oh,
facade.
okay.
We had a recommendation from staff is it's not, so the car wash equipment is not visible to
Well, you can kind of fun.
people driving down Warwick Boulevard, so we just put in for facade windows there.
Okay.
so are there windows with interior film, or they're not windows at all?
They're not windows at all.
Okay.
Oh, so it doesn't look like this?
No, it looks like that, but it's just like at my Jefferson Avenue location, those windows that are on the building are not, they're actually window looking, but they're just mounted to the building.
So is this
So
the
it's-
height of your Jefferson Avenue location?
What's that?
Is this the height of the Jefferson Avenue location?
No, the Jefferson Avenue location is 36 feet, or 34 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's lower than the Jefferson Avenue
So
location.
these are not windows? Okay.
It's pesos. So they want to put a window in there.
Okay. Does anyone else have comments or questions? I don't have any other speakers, so I'm gonna,
If there are no more comments, I move that conditional use permit.
Can I'm sorry to interrupt you all, I apologize, but before you make a motion, the planning director and I had been in consultation, and we have a recommendation for a change in one of the conditions, and I wanted to read our recommendation to you. So it's just condition 10, and it's regarding the playing of music on outdoor speakers, and what we're proposing is an additional sentence at the beginning that says, "There shall be no outdoor speakers or sound systems," period. And then the next sentence would be slightly amended to read, "The playing of music on any speakers by the property owner or operator in the car wash tunnel shall be prohibited."
Yeah.
The Jefferson Avenue one.
Yeah, we're not doing anything like Jefferson Avenue. This is completely different. Our new model moving forward is this model here. We have no music, no sound, so we have no outdoor speakers proposed, no indoor speakers. Yes, I have no issues with that being in the conditions.
You have no objection to that
No,
amendment?
I have no objection.
Do we have to take a motion on the amendment?
we have to amend the motion, I think.
I haven't even made a motion yet.
Yeah.
I think I interrupted you before you made the motion.
Before you go to Philip, he has a question before you go forward.
So, obviously, there's been a little back and forth about the rear fence, and the rear fence does exist in some capacity, but does not, to my knowledge, extend past from one side of the property line to the other, or to the full extent of the applicant. Is there, to me, that boundary line is important. It sounds like he's committed to that, and that's part of his plan.
Yeah, it's part of the plan.
Shall that be referenced as a condition?
Is it shown on the site plan?
I believe so.
Yeah, it showed on a 3D.
Shown on the site plan and the landscape plan. I'm just,
It showed on the 3D rendering.
Yeah, it's not shown on the site.
A6
Yeah, the 3D rendering.
shows it.
yeah, it's not noted on the site plan.
It doesn't show on the site plan.
No.
Support A6.
So Greg, are you asking for it to be another as another proffer?
I am,
No.
sir.
No, another,
It's not a problem.
No condition.
Let's
No,
go
it's-
ahead and, I think we need to move forward on this motion. And then we can, Lynn, help me here.
I don't think there was, I interrupted Mr.
Okay,
Bishop
okay.
before he made a
An
motion, so.
official motion has not been made yet.
Okay,
It's still out.
so as I was saying, are there any other questions or discussions on this case?
Okay, let's discuss the fence, so we can add that into my motion.
All right, well, we can ask the question now.
Sure.
Before the motion
Yes.
and before I close the public hearing, which I was
Yes.
getting ready to do.
Yes.
So,
So what's the question, Ray?
So my question is, it has been suggested that there is to be a change in one of the proffers to specifically reference the conditions to eliminate speakers and/or music on the exterior and interior. Would it be appropriate, I'm looking at staff for this, to include a condition as to a rear fence detail?
That is shown on the rendering.
But hard to determine from AES's site plan.
it doesn't show on the site
Yeah.
plan.
if you felt the need to add a condition requiring a fence along the rear property line as it currently exists or replaced, we can certainly do that. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with that.
I have no issues with that, even though.
I assume it would be a 6-foot fence.
I'd prefer to go 8 if we can, and the police department prefers 8 feet. They really like the 8-foot fence on the Jefferson Avenue property because of anyone that's trying to run over can jump
Right,
over a
yeah.
6-foot fence. They can't an 8-foot fence. So.
So it's not included on the site plan,
No.
which,
If it was included on the site plan, you
We
would
wouldn't
not
need the
need to
conditioning,
add
right.
the condition because it would be incorporated as part of the site plan.
Okay.
You can add it if that is something that makes you feel that it's a more appropriate thing to do.
and it sounds like the commissioners feel that way, and you have no issue with
No,
that.
I have no issue with that.
So I think we can safely add that as a condition.
Okay.
And amend number 10 of the conditions and make that number 12.
Or just swap that out.
Well,
Can we replace
um,
Right,
Yeah, we can certainly add it.
Add it at this point and
Right.
renumber them.
okay. Okay, so now, are there any other questions for the applicant? I don't have any other cards, so now I am going to close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
And I will look to the commission for a motion.
I move that conditional use permit number CU TAC 2023 TAC 0006 be approved with conditions as recommended by staff with modification to proffer number 10 as far as. Condition 10 as far as there will be no speakers, no music inside the car wash tunnel, and the additional requirement that a 8-foot fence be placed along the property line. Privacy fence. Okay.
No, he was
Privacy.
8 foot, that was good.
He wanted to put an 8-foot.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Melissa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dias? 4. Commissioner Shook?
4.
Commissioner Williams? 4. Commissioner Taylor?
4.
Commissioner Bowditch?
4.
Commissioner Stogel?
4.
Commissioner Maxwell? 4. Commissioner Fox?
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
Okay, thank you all, and this will be heard by City Council on August the 8th, 2023. Continuing along the same vein, we have conditional use permit 2023-0007, Wave Properties, also presented by Saul Weiser. Welcome again, Saul.
Hello again. So now we have application CU 2023-0007, and this one is by Wave Properties Colony LLC, who are the owners and applicants, and they are requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the construction and operation of a car wash. The property is located at 13260 Warwick Boulevard and contains 0.45 acres. North, east, and south of the property are the Village Square Shopping Center on property zone C1 Retail Commercial, and west of the property are professional offices on properties zone 01 office. The One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map identifies neighborhood commercial uses for the parcel. The property has been zoned C1 retail commercial since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective on August 1st, 1997. On January 8, 2002, City Council approved conditional use permit CU 0198, allowing the construction and operation of a car wash at this location. The facility has not been used for over 12 months, hence the conditional use permit is deemed to be abandoned. Then, a conditional use permit is now required to construct a new express car wash on the property as proposed. The proposed use requires a minimum of 10 spaces and allows a maximum of 12. The conceptual site plan shows 10 parking spaces, of which 8 will be vacuum spaces. The site regulations require a 16-foot landscape strip along Warwick Boulevard. The landscape plan shows the appropriate landscape strip. The prior conditional use permit conditioned all the existing landscaping, which will remain. City departments had no objections to this request. The zoning ordinance has required the approval of a conditional use permit for a car wash facility in the C1 Retail Commercial District since the comprehensive rezoning became effective in 1997. The property was developed in 2003 as an automated two-bay car wash as conditioned under conditional use permit CU 0198. The applicant now proposes to remove the existing building as well as all site infrastructure while returning all the mature landscaping on the site's perimeter to accommodate construction of a new building with site improvements that meet current city requirements. The new single-tunnel building will be generally located on the same footprint as the original building on the property, avoiding any major changes to the circulation on the site. The existing mature landscaping will remain in place and will be complemented as needed. The mature trees will help screen the vacuums from direct view from Warwick Boulevard. The existing sign on the property will be removed and replaced with a 7-foot-tall LED monument-style sign. The property is along one of the city's major commercial corridors. The use has existed on the property for almost 20 years. The property is surrounded with commercial uses and is not close to any residential uses that could be affected by the nuisances associated with car washes. The new building will improve the site's appearance, which has been neglected since the use was closed. In conclusion, the proposed car wash is consistent with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use designation. The redevelopment of the site with the retention of the existing mature vegetation will ensure appropriate screening. The redevelopment will improve the visual appearance of the property. Hence, it is recommended that you recommend City Council approval of conditional use permit CU 2023-0007 for the operation of a car wash at 13260 Warwick Boulevard with 18 conditions that include a Class 1 site plan shall be submitted to and reviewed by the Site Plan Review Committee and approved by the Director of Planning. All existing trees and landscaping along the perimeter of the property shall be retained and be complemented as necessary. The applicant shall submit building elevations and exterior building materials to be reviewed and approved by the Director of Planning. Existing freestanding signs will be removed and only one freestanding sign shall be permitted on the property, which shall be a monument-style sign no taller than 7 feet. All other standard conditions also apply. All 18 conditions are detailed in the staff report and will be part of the ordinance if approved by council. Are there any questions?
Yes. Wait, yep.
I have a question. So what's out there now, the pavement area, the curb and gutter, that's all going to remain? Are they increasing it or decreasing it?
They are not.
They're not touching that?
No.
Okay. So that won't disturb the trees. That's
Yeah, that's
No.
what I was.
so they're not increasing it, moving the curb and gutter or anything. All right. And then the other question I had is how many vacuums are there? Vacuum stations? 8. Okay.
Lamont.
First thing, I assume that we're going to make the same modifications to condition number 10
Yes.
on this one as the prior one.
And just for the record, if I could read that, if you don't mind,
Okay, yeah.
Madam Chair. Commissioner. The recommended amendment would say as follows, there shall be no outdoor speakers or sound systems, period. When I say period, just in.
The period.
Yeah.
That's short.
The playing of music on any speakers by the property owner or operator in the car wash tunnel shall be prohibited.
Got it. I
Okay.
just have one other follow-up question. So the vacuum cleaners, they're in the 12-foot spaces. Are you also putting them in a standard 9-foot space as well? I'm just looking at where they're going.
So there are 10 spaces, 8 of which will have vacuum cleaners.
So some will be in a regular 9-foot space?
No.
Because there's 7 12-foot wide spaces.
Correct, because the remaining 2 are accessible parking spaces.
There's actually 8 spaces that are wider than typical. One happens to be a handicap space or
Right, but you
accessible
can't use that
space.
for, I mean, like,
Yeah, that
I-
will not be used for it.
But you can ask the applicant specifically where they're planning on it. But I believe that the 2 9-foot spaces are just the 2 extra regular spaces
but will they
with no
have?
vacuums.
No vacuums, but there's 8 vacuums, so one will be at the handicap space. Okay. Uh-huh.
That's all I had a question, and it may be better addressed to the applicant as well, but when you talked about the trees again, and you talked about the landscaping on the perimeter, now, I'm assuming that to mean, what are these 2 gorgeous trees, mature?
It's all the landscaping that is existing that was
Everything.
conditioned under the previous conditional use permit.
Okay,
So it will remain.
wonderful, wonderful, thank you. Okay, any other questions for Saul? Okay, thank you.
And we're conditioning that in here.
Oh, I saw that, and that's what I wanted to make sure it included those trees.
Yes.
Okay, we have a card, open the public hearing and invite Mr. Bobby Willis, if he would like to come forward. Again, state his name again and address again.
Again, Bobby Willis, 230 Nat Turner Boulevard, Newport News, Virginia. And answering your questions, yes, the curb and guttering will remain, that's there. We're using all the curb and guttering, all the perimeter landscaping will stay in place, none of that will be disturbed. To answer your question about the vacuums, there are 8 vacuum spaces, one of those is being handicap space, and that will actually be a handicap accessible vacuum. What we do is we put a lower meter box on that so they can scan their ticket. We have 2 of those at the Jefferson Avenue location now, and it's, it works out well.
Okay.
My only question actually is just more for you. Unlike the other car wash where this one's in a shopping center?
Yes.
What to prevent traffic from trying to use your vacuums after hours?
How the vacuums work is that you have to get a code from the pay station that actually they have to scan the vacuums. They just can't go up and start the vacuums. Like currently, I closed the site down a little over a year ago because after COVID, that manufacturer, that equipment went out of business. So I knew I was planning to renovate that location anyway, so we just went ahead and shut it down until we took it to the process to rebuild the location. But how the existing vacuums were before we closed it is you could come up 24 hours a day and use those vacuums. But now it's another thing that we do at the end of closing, we will cone off all the driveway entrances just like we do at the Jefferson Avenue location.
Very good.
So
That's all.
drive-by customers cannot get on the lot unless they physically get out and move the chain and the cones to drive on the lot. But even if they did, the vacuum still wouldn't work.
I'm just thinking more for you
Yeah.
and your safety,
Yeah.
because, a public space.
Yeah, trust me,
parking lot.
we've thought through it. We've seen all kinds of scenarios being in the business for as long as we have.
I appreciate you continuing to do work in your city.
Yeah,
Invest in
that's,
your
I'm
state.
very dedicated to doing that.
Now, did you plan to have a fence around the back of this one?
No.
There hasn't ever
because
been one.
Yeah, there's not a fence there now, plus it's a parking lot that's back
Right.
behind it, and so there's really no need for it.
Okay.
Could you drive it?
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? No?
Okay.
No other
Thank you.
cards? I'll close the public hearing. Matters before the commission.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the conditional use permit number CU-2023-0007 to be approved with the conditions as recommended by staff as well as the modification.
To it, number 10.
Yes.
Number 10.
Yeah, okay.
And for the record, we do have on file that this isn't going to get the same fencing as the previous application, because I think that was one of the things that was mentioned, that we were gonna, those conditions we were gonna
He said
follow.
no fence.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that was on the record.
Well, you can't, they drive off the property on the parking lot.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Melissa, would you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not prepared. Commissioner Shook.
4.
Commissioner Williams.
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Commissioner Bowditch.
4.
Commissioner Stodgel.
4.
Commissioner Maxwell.
4.
Commissioner Dias. Commissioner Fox.
4.
Mission unanimous, 8-0.
Okay, this will also be heard by City Council on August the 8th, 2023. Now, our last matter is a zoning text amendment, and this is ZT 2023-0002, will be presented by Ms. Flora Chiros.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Planning Commissioners. The request is to amend zoning ordinance section 45-2205 to eliminate the off-street parking requirements for residential uses in the C3 Regional Business District. As you might be aware, the Regional Business District encompasses the historic downtown area of Newport News, and currently the zoning ordinance requires one on-site parking space per dwelling unit within the Regional Business District. This requirement, however, greatly limits how older buildings can be reused because many were built prior to the widespread use of the automobile. It also does not allow for the reuse of many of the single-family residential structures that remain in the downtown area. Downtown is beginning to experience a resurgence of activity of people who wish to live, work, and play in this area, and the amendment will enable this to continue. The land in the downtown area is rather limited, and the elimination of the parking requirements will enable historic structures to be preserved and adapted for other uses rather than being torn down to allow for additional surface parking lots, as has been experienced in the past. On May 17th, 2023, the Regulations Committee reviewed and recommended approval of the above referenced amendment, and therefore it is our recommendation that the City Planning Commission recommend to City Council adoption of zoning ordinance text amendment ZT-2023-0002. I'm available for questions. Yes, sir.
For anyone that buys a property though, so is this saying that if anyone buys a property, they are not guaranteed anywhere within their residence parking?
You mean an existing structure that has it depends. Some have on-site parking. It just doesn't require anyone redeveloping that area to provide on-site parking. Okay. So most apartment builders or redevelopers have to provide some parking somewhere for their residents, but it doesn't require it to happen by the code. It allows the developer to kind of work that out. And it allows for redevelopment of an existing structure rather than tearing everything down to put in surface parking lots. It allows that person to kind of negotiate. Perhaps there's a parking garage nearby that they can negotiate a lease with. There's other opportunities. And there's on-street parking also.
Okay, so very similar to what you would see in a larger city, in an
Right.
urban area. Okay.
Anything
I
else?
think this is brilliant, personally. If you want to redevelop, this is brilliant.
Okay.
Plus, I don't have any cards, so I'm going to open the public hearing and close it, but
Okay. Madam Chairman, I move that we recommend to City Council adoption of zoning text amendment number ZT TAC 2023 TAC 0002.
Okay, moved and seconded. Matters before the commissioners.
Like I said, this is just a great step towards being able to redevelop Hometown.
Are you making a motion?
We already have a motion.
And second.
Yep.
We're in the discussion mode.
Okay, good. Call the roll.
Okay, Commissioner Williams.
That's okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Commissioner Bowditch.
4.
Commissioner Stodgel.
4.
Commissioner Maxwell. 4. Commissioner Dias. Commissioner Shook.
4.
Commissioner Fox.
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
That was right. Okay, now we're going to move on to our executive secretary's report. I'm sure that last meeting was a good one.
Good afternoon. Yes, it was. It's a good one. There were 6 cases before City Council on June the 27th. All 6 were approved. One included the Peninsula Rescue Mission's group home. That was approved after a long discussion. Cottage Grove Apartments rezoning was approved. Boxwood Inn, the Harris Teeter Gas Station, and the Fitness Center on Ed Wright Lane, all were approved, including the amendments to the zoning ordinance and sign ordinance. We also, on, Mr. Taylor, you will like this, but on July 23rd, and I believe this came before the commission, but Carter Funeral Home will be having a ribbon cutting.
Oh,
It's on a Sunday. It's at 2 p.m.
Wow.
So we all can attend.
cool.
July 23rd
I will be in Washington, sorry.
July 23rd at 2,
at 2 p.m.
this Sunday.
It's at 39th and Marshall. Okay.
Sorry, I cannot be there.
Oh,
I got you.
sorry.
I got you.
And we have no cases for August 2nd, or the 16th. So what is your pleasure?
Well, my pleasure would be we cancel the meetings.
I second that one.
I heard a
I
second.
second your.
Unless the director and assistant director have other matters they would like us to take care of.
No, not in August.
Okay,
We're good.
all right,
Was that
so,
your motion and your second?
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor?
aye.
Thanks.
I like the grill.
You want a barbecue grill like grill?
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, that, any committee reports?
Yes, Madam Chairman. Regulation Committee had a very enlightening meeting today, to the point where we're going to continue our conversation on the 2 items before us, which was continuing care facilities and C3 Regional Business District. Staff is going back and bringing us some more interesting tidbits next time.
Okay. Unfinished business. New business.
It's raining.
Okay.
What that is?
It's raining. Yeah.
Meeting is adjourned.
It looks very dark